Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio, and we've reached that time with the new expansion where we need to have a little bit of a look through the rest of the cards. I promised myself that I would have these reveals done in the space of a week. You should be watching this on Thursday, which means that we have got basically today to finish off the reveals. We've done a huge amount, there's a bunch of links in the description, but now we're going to do a bit of a speed round, looking at the cards in the set that I don't really like. Though if you want a fun challenge, and I encourage you all very much to do this, have a look at these cards, find one that you think I'm massively underrating, and explain to me in the comments while I'm wrong. I would love to read them. So we're going to go in set order, we're going to go with a little bit of a clip, and we're going to start off with Heracross. We like the 130 HP, that's quite high for a basic Pokemon, that's a good start. But you've still got a weakness to fire, which is Welded X, which is some of the best decks in the entire format. And the most interesting attack is the first one, 2 colorless energy, 30 damage, your opponent switches a defending Pokemon with one of his or her bench. Sounds alright, but if you want to make your opponent switch and give them the choice, Fiona. But that's on an ability and you get to hit them when they come into the active. Yeah, you've got twin energy to pay the attack cost, but no, it's not actually any good. And as for the 2 grass, 1 colorless, 110 damage, no. Even if you're playing this in a Rillaboom deck where you can accelerate energy, there are plenty of other grass Pokemon that can do an awful lot better job than this. Trevenant was not a card I particularly wanted to put on this list. I don't think Trevenant is a bad card. I think Trevenant is a spectacularly underwhelming card. I think Trevenant is pretty much the definition of meh. 130 HP on a stage 1 is fine, it's in line with Naganadel and a bunch of others. It's about as high as stage 1s generally get. The retreat cost of 3 is in that annoying spot between Air Balloon and Buff Padding where you get no real advantages. You've got that same horrible weakness to fire, given the whole welder deck problem. And then 1 grass energy, 40 damage, who's getting excited about that? Like, seriously, who's getting excited about 40 damage for a single energy? Ooh, it can take out a Ditto Prism Star. Which probably won't be there because it will have evolved because you're a stage 1 Pokemon. I suppose if you go first and get a Phantump down, then they bench a Ditto Prism Star, then you can get it in the active. Yay! 40 damage KO. Yeah. Now the second attack is fine. 2 grass, 1 colorless energy, 120 damage, and the defending Pokemon cannot retreat during your opponent's next turn. Yeah, the Bolton from Sword and Shield does that, except it does it for a single energy attachment with twin energy, and it's got a really nice second attack. And I could sit here and start reeling off a billion other Pokemon that have got the same kind of attack, but I think you get the point here. It's not a bad attack, it's fine. It's just we've got other Pokemon that do the same thing, but they do it better. Sorry. Heatmor is another Pokemon that I don't have anything against, I just don't have anything particularly in favour of. Heatmor comes in with 120 HP, which is, again, quite nice for a basic Pokemon. It's got a retreat cost of 2, which means it can use Air Balloon, and a weakness to water, which we're expecting Frostmoth decks to be good, but they're not yet, so it's not actually a bad weakness. 1 energy, 20 damage, flip a coin if heads paralysis, and we're back to the case here of it's not a bad attack, it's just we've got so many other Pokemon that we can use to paralyze on a coin flip. And when we've got other Pokemon that can paralyze on a coin flip, many of which are better, it's kind of hard to recommend this as a Pokemon. I mean, if you really want to go for something like this, the Pincurchin from Sword and Shield, okay, it's 2 lightning energy, but we've got plenty of stuff like Thunder Mountain to help you out. And you flip 4 coins, doing 30 for each heads, and if 2 of them are heads, paralysis. And on average, you should get 2 heads. So I don't see why we would play this to get the paralysis on a coin flip. Free energy, 120, discard an energy. Again, it's not a bad attack, but it's a fire Pokemon, right? I should have mentioned we can use Welder to accelerate energy, and that's lovely. But why are you using this over something like Volcanion? Volcanion, you need 4 energy, but it's 2 on Volcanion and 2 anywhere else, and then you're doing 110. But you're not discarding any energy. Or there's like a billion other Pokemon like Arcanine that can essentially do much better things. I mean, Arcanine is a stage 1, and for 3 energy, you're doing 120 and accelerating 2 energy, rather than 120 and discarding an energy. Sorry. Moving into Pelipper here, we've got a water Pokemon, so we can use that whole Frostmoth thing we talked about earlier to accelerate energy. Retreat cost of 2 means Air Balloon. Weakness to Lightning sucks because of things like Pikachu and Zekrom, but honestly it sucks because of Electrode power, because it means that any semi-competent Lightning Pokemon will be able to play Electrode power, and if they can do 30 damage base, they can play an Electrode power and get a 1-hit KO. Not ideal. You do have a resistance to fighting, so I suppose that's something. First attack, 2 colorless energy, 50 damage. Nope. Not getting excited about that, I'm afraid. But 1 water, 2 colorless energy, 110. Move an energy from this Pokemon to one of your bench. That's alright. You've got Frostmoth, you can use Twin Energy, and the moving the energy to your bench can be quite nice, because then if Pelipper gets KO'd, you're not losing the energy. Maybe if you think you're going to get KO'd, you move the Twin Energy, and then that Twin Energy goes and sits on one of your bench Pokemon, ready to not get knocked off and KO'd. That would be nice. But if we're perfectly honest with ourselves here, ladies and gentlemen, it's just a bit... Again, it's not bad, but you're not hitting enough to get Reshiram and Charizard with weakness, which is one of the best things about playing a water Pokemon. I suppose you are doing enough to KO Torkoal V, so that's quite nice. But you're not getting a KO on everything that's weak. And if you're playing Frostmoth, we've just got better water Pokemon. Sorry. Moving into Lightning, we've got an Electrode that I'm just not loving. Again, this is my I don't really like these cards video. But Electrode here, it's got 90 HP, which is low. It does have free retreat, which is kind of cool. And it is a Lightning Pokemon, so you've got all that stuff like the aforementioned Electro Power and Thunder Mountain. But the first attack, 1 colorless energy, search your deck for 3 energy cards, reveal them and put them into your hand. The good news is it says energy cards, not basic energy. So you can get things like Twin Energy or that new Speed Energy. When you attach it, you get to draw 2 cards. So that's all well and good, that's quite lovely. But then again, by the same token, is there anything about this which is great? I know you're searching out the energy, but you're probably giving up a prize to do so, given that you've got 90 HP. And you're not even a basic Pokemon, you're a stage 1. So not only are you giving up a prize, but you've had an evolution, and you're giving up an attack, and you're giving up a prize. It's not worth it to search out 3 energy cards. As for the Lightning Colorless Energy 70 damage, I mean, I don't need to tell you that this is spectacularly underwhelming, do I? It's just not good enough. It's just meh, I think is the best way for me to explain it. It's just a little bit meh. Moving over into Darkness, we can have a quick look at Mandibuzz. Now, it's a stage 1 Pokemon, 120 HP is fine, retreat cost of 2 is fine, weakness to lightning is annoying, as previously mentioned. We do like the resistance to fighting. And 1 Darkness Energy, 30 damage, flip a coin until you get tails, 30 damage times a number of heads. No, I'm sorry, I'm not enjoying this. Look, the fact of the matter is, you can get lucky on this, right? You can hit 9 heads in a row. I think my record was like 17 tails in a row during a tournament. Well, if I can hit 17 tails in a row, someone else can hit 17 heads in a row, and then you're doing 510 damage, and yay! But that's not going to happen very often. Plus, right, don't keep going till you got 17. Don't waste all your luck. Stop when you've hit the requisite amount. It's fine as an emergency attack. And I like having an emergency attack. I've said this many times. I like having an emergency, I've got nothing, oh my god, what am I going to do? Oh, if I can flip 12 heads in a row, I'll win kind of attack. It's not something I like relying on. But when it's a case of, I am going to lose, I would much rather be, I'm going to lose unless I can hit 10 heads on this ridiculous card, than I'm going to lose. Give me the tiny chance of winning. Here's the thing. Why would you not go Sizzlipede? Firstly, Sizzlipede is 40 times, not 30 times. Secondly, Sizzlipede is a basic. Thirdly, Sizzlipede evolves into Centiskorch, which is a really good Pokemon. Yes, I know it's 2 energy rather than 1, but it's a fire Pokemon. You can use Welder. And also, it's a basic, not a stage 1, which definitely mitigates the fact that it's for 2 energy. So I'm sorry, I don't see why I'm playing this over Sizzlipede. 2 Darkness Energy, 100 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon with any damage counters on is fine. It means you can hit 100 to the bench. But you've got to commit to this. You've got to be playing something like Roxy, discard 2 Pokemon from your hand, draw 3 for each one discarded, and then have stuff like Weezing in there that if discarded with Roxy, does 10 to each of your opponent's Pokemon. There's got to be some kind of spreading going on, but then you're talking 2 energy attachments on a fairly weak stage 1, after having manipulated the board to get damage on your opponent's Pokemon. And even then, what's got 110 and sitting on the bench that you want to KO? Even something like Naganadel or Quagsire is going to be out of range if you're using this. I suppose Jirachi or Malamar? But if you're putting 2 energy onto a stage 1 Pokemon and spreading damage just to try and take out bench Malamar, come on, just play some more Gusting. Most decks have got like 50 different cards that can KO a 90 HP Malamar. Play a little bit more Gusting, and you'll be absolutely fine. And the last Pokemon I want to talk about here is Unfezant. And I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, I looked at Unfezant for quite a long time. It's a kind of Pokemon where I looked at it and I didn't really like it, and then I thought, no, I'm not giving this enough of a chance. And I looked again and again and again, and I don't like it. I really want to like it, but I don't like it. You see, the thing is, it's a stage 2 Pokemon, and yes, we've got plenty of stuff around at the moment like Inteleon and Rosa, which do make it far easier to play stage 2s than it has been for a while, granted. But it doesn't even have free retreat. It's got 150 HP, which is not great for a stage 2 Pokemon. It's got a weakness to lightning, which we've already mentioned is bad, and it's a colourless Pokemon, so it's not hitting anything for weakness, and it has no tricks. I don't mind the fighting resistance, but I ain't playing a card just for the fighting resistance, and I do adore the artwork showing a very generic British field, but I fear that's more just me loving where I live, more so than being excited about this particular card. Now, the first attack for 2 colourless energy does 50 damage, and during your opponent's next turn, any damage done by attacks from the defending Pokemon is reduced by 50. Now, here's what I like about this attack. You can use Twin Energy or Triple Acceleration Energy to pay the attack cost. Here's what I don't like about this attack. You're only doing 50 damage, which is good enough for something like Snom, but won't actually get the vast majority of evolving Pokemon. It's on a stage 2. Your opponent still only has to do 200 to get a 1-hit KO. And I've already mentioned the bad weakness, so something like Pikachu and Zekrom will KO you pretty gosh darned easily. And Reshiram and Charizard does 230, so they'll KO you pretty gosh darned easily. And Zacian does 230, so they'll KO you pretty gosh darned easily. And essentially what you've done is evolved up a stage 2, used a special energy, used an attack, only done 50 damage, and most of the time not stopped yourself getting KO'd. Brilliant. Second attack, 3 colourless energy, 150 damage. Discard an energy attached to this Pokemon. Now, in reality, what you're going to do here is pay this with triple acceleration energy, which falls off at the end of your turn regardless. So it doesn't matter whether you had to discard it or not. But you're doing 150 and you're not hitting anything for weakness ever. Unless Dragon make a comeback weak to colourless, which is possible, in which case you will get a one-hit KO on a bunch of dragons. Outside of that, what are you KOing here? What are you getting? Oh, you're getting the majority of non-GX, non-Vs, except actually a bunch of Stage 2s will have 160. You don't, but a bunch of others actually do, so that's kind of a kick in the pants. And you're 2-hit KOing stuff, but you're using triple acceleration energy to 2-hit KO, and that's not going to end terribly well. And of course, you then run out of triple acceleration energy. So maybe you use twin energy and something like Malamar, or you use Welder or something like that. But now you're getting into awkward territory. And when you're already a stage 2 and you're already 2-hit KOing, that's awkward enough. I started off looking at Unfezant with this weird feeling like I should like this, why don't I like it? Take a closer look. And bearing in mind, at this point you probably all realise quite how enthusiastic I am about new Pokemon cards. It doesn't take much for me to like a new card. But this is a weird kind of card where the more I looked at it, the more I just went, no. I'm sorry, I don't like this. This is probably my least favourite card in the entire set. Sorry if that sounds a bit mean. Not even sorry. And now I must apologise, ladies and gentlemen, because I did actually miss one. There's a Pokemon we still haven't looked at. And those of you that know me will know that this makes me incredibly sad. But we got to talk a bit of Snorlax. I love Snorlax. One of my very favourite Pokemon. If I ranked them out, probably it's Snorlax and Beware fighting for third spot. Yeah, I know they're kind of similar. And look, there are things to like about Snorlax. 150 HP is big. Retreat cost of 4, giving you access to buff padding, is lovely. The artwork is phenomenal. But I don't think we need this card. 1 colourless energy, draw 2 cards sounds alright. But actually, we've got so many other cards we can use instead. We got things like Sudowoodo, who's got draw 2 cards, one from Sword and Shield, except there's also got the really nice flail attack, and it's an early game Pokemon, and it's got 1 retreat, which means it's easy to get out the active, which is something you're probably going to be looking for when it comes to something like this. Then 3 colourless energy, 120 damage, but then you go to sleep. And 120 is fine if you're hitting something for weakness, but you're a colourless Pokemon, so you're not hitting anything for weakness. And it's just a bit, yeah. It's not bad, it's fine, and a pre-release is going to be really useful. You're going to love drawing 2 cards constantly and then hitting 120. I adore this in a pre-release, but in standard format, drawing 2 cards is not special enough to make us want to play it. And 3 colourless energy, 120 again, just, it's not enough damage when you're not hitting for weakness, and you're not hitting for weakness. Sorry. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Those are the cards from the set which I'm not a gigantic fan of. Not necessarily saying they're terrible cards, except for Unfezant. Just saying that I don't think any of these are going to be particularly great. So we popped them all in a video at the end, because you know me, I'm a perfectionist, I'm a completionist. I want to make sure I've analysed every new card, and now I have. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to know what you think about all of these cards, and I would especially like to know if there's any of these that you think are good and why you think they're good. So let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where you can find out about a whole bunch of games that don't have Pokemon in, but are pretty gosh darned good regardless. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.